The gentle morning sun began to spread across the yard. Philetta carefully balanced the full, cool pail of fresh milk on her head. Her years of experience allowed her to maintain perfect stability. Philetta smiled, inhaling the rich, creamy scent of the freshly drawn milk. The path leading to the market seemed shorter today. A brilliant plan for this precious cargo had already formed in the young girl's mind. This was her chance to break free from the mundane life she led. She walked rhythmically, her footsteps soft on the ground. This milk, when I take it to the market and sell it, will certainly fetch a very high price, she calculated silently. In her mind's eye, she was standing in the middle of a bustling marketplace, people crowding around. Silver coins were already gleaming and heavy in her cloth purse. Philetta could already foresee the wealth. Nothing could stop her from taking this first crucial step. She proceeded with her plan. With the money from the milk, I won't buy anything trivial. Philetta took a deep breath, her face filled with determination. I will buy the 3 dozen freshest and best eggs I can find. They must be the kind of eggs that will hatch into strong chicks that grow quickly. She visualized the transaction, her careful selection of each egg, ensuring they were perfect. Her future lay within the shells of those eggs. In her mind, the scene shifted to the warm yellow of a straw nest. Philetta was carefully sitting on the eggs, patiently waiting. Then the first cheep-cheep sounds emerged. A flock of adorable downy yellow chicks hatched, running around her feet. The sight was pleasing and the sound comforting. She smiled brightly. I will raise them very carefully, feeding them the best grain so they grow fast. They will be fat and healthy. Philetta walked past a lush green field. Selling that entire fat flock of chickens will give me a small fortune. She had already priced each one. She would skillfully negotiate with the poultry dealer and earn a large sum. And finally, she whispered excitedly, I will use that money to buy the item I've long dreamed of, the blue silk dress at the tailor's shop. The dress would shimmer beautifully under the lamplight. Philetta's face was radiant, her eyes sparkling. She slowed her pace to fully enjoy the fantasy. That silk blue dress wasn't just an item of clothing. It was a symbol of change. No longer will I be the poor milkmaid. Everyone will look at me differently. She already felt like a woman of importance. She imagined arriving at the upcoming village festival in her new silk dress. Cheerful music played in her head. She walked in, and all eyes turned towards her. The other girls looked envious, while the mothers whispered among themselves. Philetta spun gracefully. She was the center of attention, the most admired person that night. The attention of the young men was what delighted her the most. All the young men in the village, even the handsome but arrogant carpenter, will have to queue up to ask me to dance. She smiled mischievously. Images of gallant young men bowing low, begging for a dance flashed through her mind. A young man, in the fantasy, approached, extending his hand. She paused. But I won't pay them any mind. Philetta began to gesture, her lips pursed, her eyes cold. She would refuse with a disdainful air, making them regret their past indifference. She shrugged haughtily and prepared to toss her head in refusal. This was her moment to retaliate against everyone who had ever looked down on her. Philetta had now reached the small wooden bridge over the stream. The bridge was old and required focus, but she was completely lost in her feeling of self-importance. She performed her snooty head-toss gesture once more while on the bridge. Her eyes were fixed on the distance, paying no attention to the ground. Just a slight distraction, a minor, over-exaggerated shrug, and the pail on her head wobbled. The dramatic sound intensified. Philetta gasped, trying desperately to regain balance with her hands, but it was too late. The arrogant head toss had become the undoing of her small fortune. In slow motion, the pail fell from her head. White milk sprayed everywhere in the air. Philetta could only watch, her eyes wide with horror. The moment stretched infinitely, the time when all her chicks, eggs, silk dress, and haughtiness shattered, splash. The pail crashed onto the wooden bridge. Milk streamed everywhere over the planks, mixing together and dripping down into the stream below. Sound. A light rolling of the pail, the gentle trickling of milk. All the milk was gone. Philetta stood frozen, a chill running down her spine. Tears began to well up in her eyes. There was no blue silk dress. There were no plump chicks. All that remained was an empty pail and the messy puddles of milk. The girl's face was numb, filled with extreme disappointment. She had lost everything due to a moment of foolishness, because of a dream too far removed from reality. Philetta knelt down, scooping up the last remnants of milk clinging to the bridge planks. She sighed, feeling a heavy weight of regret. Oh dear. Goodbye, blue silk dress. Goodbye, fat little chickens, she said to herself, her voice full of bitterness. She had lost her entire fortune. She sank down beside the empty pail, using her hand to wipe away her tears. After all the vain imagining, this was the harsh reality. She stared intently at the milk flowing away. She had been punished by her own pride. Philetta stood up, picking up the empty pail. She had learned a valuable, indelible lesson. She raised her head, not in pride, but in resolve. She spoke clearly, her voice echoing in the morning silence. Never count your chickens before they hatch. She turned back towards the farm, the pail on her head now light and empty.